Good morning, and I believe that it is morning here in Atlanta, and I'm so glad to get a chance to be in the Word of God. I wrote down a few things that I have pondered or learned in the last 48 hours. And before I get into Genesis chapter 22, and if I were you, I would go get the Word because I wouldn't trust nobody unless they tell me what's happening in the entire chapter they are talking about. So that'll give you a chance to get Genesis 22. I think I posted it. And I said I want to talk about some lessons I learned in the last 48 hours. One thing that I've learned in the last 48 hours, and it may not be that I learned it, but God had just given me some insight. And one thing is that we are all brothers. We are all related. Now, we're going to trust God. We have to trust his ways. We have to trust his genealogy. We have to trust what he left us to refer to whenever we get confused about what we bring separation in. We are all brothers, and I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to say something new or trying to say something that might sound like a cliche. I'm not. I'm really, truly coming from the Word of God saying that we are all brothers. What happened in the beginning, based on what I learned from reading Genesis, is that God had Noah, after the people in the earth before Noah had been destroyed, and God sent Noah to be one of the people that was, he was saved. He and 7 others, including him, was 8. Out of Noah came 3 sons, Jephthah, Ham, and Shem. Those 3 sons God is going to use to repopulate or again replenish the earth with mankind. We're going to start over. Those 3 men with their wives had enough seed inside of them to get the world started again. So the cycle starts again. Jephthah, I'm going to say this. He moved after they went to the Babel, and they were trying to build a tower to make a name for themselves. God said, no, I'm not going to have that. So Jephthah moved to the west side, which is the European and the Asian side. So I got to get this really clear, because once God establishes something, then that means that he can judge it if he needs to. He took those 3 sons and their wives, and Noah had more children, but we're going to focus on those 3 sons. And Jephthah, after their language had got, basically, after the Jephthahs relate, all of the Jephthah folk, they went to the European side. They went to the west side, which would cover the Asian part, the Russia part, all of the Europe side. Right here in that big old country of Africa, we have Ham. All right. And then on the east side, we have Shem. Now, Shem is going to be the guy on the smaller side, and he's going to be his side of the town is going to be very powerful. God is going to do a lot of things on that side of town, which is the Israelis and the brown-skinned people. So I'm going to talk about the shade of our colors and the simplicity of why we look different, but we are definitely related. We got to get that relationship out of the way. You are my brother. Whether or not you want to be my brother, we got the same father. That makes us brothers. We may have different mothers, but we came from the same lineage, which Noah came from as a descendant of Adam, and Adam is made by God. Now, why am I saying that? Because I want to show us what we have to do, and let's start over like elementary and realize we got the brown people, we got the black people, and we got the lighter skinned people, what we call white. We're going to say that because we need to reestablish why we are different colors. Now, right there in the center of the earth is called the equator. Just in case you want to know how was Ham people so dark, our location had a lot to do with our skin tone. Simple as that. Then after we move, anybody moves further away from the equator, you happen to be a shade lighter. I'm closer to the Ham side of the family. So with that being said, my hair is going to be drier and it's going to be tighter in its curl, all because of my location. On this side, where the brown people are, they're not directly under the sun. So they're going to be a little, it's just like putting cookies in the oven. Those cookies that's further away on a lighter heat, you're going to have a lighter shade of cookie. Still sweet. Those cookies right up under that burner, going to be a little bit darker. Those cookies right over there on the other side, they're going to be brown. So in the midst of all of that, so you got these three brothers who gave life to what we see today. We're still connected. So God said, let me just say to you, I want you to understand that everybody is related. So let's see what we have done to our brothers. Let's say that in my immediate family of 14, my brother can call me at any time. And if I don't get back to them, they can call me and I'll return the call at some point in time. That's the type of relationship I have with my brother. If my sister want to borrow my earrings, it's not a problem. She can borrow my earrings because that's my relationship with my immediate sister. If I have a relationship with those that I know we got the same mom and daddy, that's because they are my mom and daddy. But when I get the word of God, I have to look at you as my brother, because beyond my mom and my daddy, I have other brothers. We don't look alike, but we are related. So I'm saying that to say it has been kind of programmed in our minds that my lighter skinned brother don't see me as your brother. And when I say brother, I'm meaning sister too. But if I won't take my my natural closely related sister or my closely related brother, and I thought about this. What if I came from Mississippi? I lived in an area where Emmett Till his life was taken. I lived near that area once when I was raising my children. I was married and I was raising my sons. If the people that killed Emmett Till understood this is your brother, would it have mattered if I was your relative? Would you have a thought twice to do me like that? If my friends on the other side in the European area, if you really knew that I was your brother, if you really took that under consideration, lay aside everything, because somewhere in the world we got to start. We had an origin. In that origin, we started out as brothers. All we did was we started looking different. If you really thought about I'm your relative, would you have hung me on a tree and put a noose around my neck and burn me to as if I'm something to fry? If we really took the inventory or took God's word seriously and understand that you in my African America or my dark skinned people, that whatever differences we have, and we look for differences every single day, whether God is saying, first of all, I just want to reestablish in your mind, when I speak, I'm talking to my family. And when I judge you according to how you treat each other, I'm going to judge you like a family. Whatever you do, whatever you did it to your family. And how crazy can you be? If we realize that we are closely related, We came from the same origin. But yet and still, we don't treat each other like that because we see a difference. And you know how crazy we are as a people, unlike God. Let's say in my culture, what I eat the fried chicken, I eat the chitlins, those are the type of things I eat. But that doesn't mean that just because my brother doesn't eat, that we're not related. But what gets me is that inside of my own lookalike people, we still try to find a difference. Or inside of my house. Or I like, I got to be a part of a fraternity or a sorority. I got to find something to make me different. I got to be different even with, that's why God said, I don't care nothing about y'all not thinking about, I'm not in charge of life, and I'm telling you that you are related, because even when I got y'all looking just alike, you still don't get along. You still try to find something to split you up. He said, color is not your problem, because I'm going to let you know at the end of the day, you all my family, you all are my children. When you get inside of your own little old cliques, you still not getting along. I got all of my European friends, all of my European brothers and cousins, and all of my folk over there, when they really go home, they ain't getting along. Then I got my folk over here on the east side fighting each other every day. Once we realize, if I can take care of my house and I can take care of my natural sister, then I start going outside, seeing my brother who speaks Spanish. And then when I take a phone call, and then I call Comcast, and then a girl with a voice that irritates me because she doesn't sound American, then I'm irritated because now I got to try to say it slow enough and she got to speak slow enough. And then, so that I'm irritated just because you answered the phone. But what if I realized that was really my relative? I wonder, could we start relating a little bit different once we realize, whether we want to know it or not, we need to be reminded, number one, what did I learn in the last 40 hours? That I'm related to you. So in that relationship, it ought to soften the blow of who I really am, because if knowing that you are my natural sister, knowing that you are my natural or my identified nephew, I'm going to take some time, if I got in a sense, at least treat you a little bit different, be glad to see you, to do something. So let's bring that part together. I think we've not been reminded. That's why the word of God is so relevant, that we have to be reminded that we are related. So when you kill me, you crazy. You just killed a member of your family. When you talk about me and lie on me, you kind of crazy. If you do that to your own family, you're really not stable. So we need to be reminded, stir up. Number one, that's one thing I learned in the last 48 hours, is that we are brothers. The next thing I learned before I get into Genesis 22. I might have kind of covered it. All right, I guess I did. But in that part, I wanted to say, because I wrote a few notes down, I grew up in Mississippi. And I moved to Georgia, so I know those two states. I know Georgia and I know Mississippi pretty well. And I think this would tie in the fact that you are my brother. When I first got married, I lived in a trailer. Then I kind of moved up to a little brick house that was across the street from a Baptist church. And I happened to buy a house that the pastor used to live in of the Baptist church, which he sold. Sold it to one of my white brothers. And he sold it to me. I don't know nothing about all that. All I know is I paid somebody the money. Then once I moved there, I realized that the people across the street in the church didn't want me living there because I was too close to them. I was supposed to be on the other side of the track, and this was in 1984. Well, 85. All right, so the members of the church came across the street and said, look like you need to, and I'm in my house with my children, and the deacons of the church or somebody came over across the street from there and said, it's a house down the street, as if to say, we're trying to let you know we need you to get out of this neighborhood. And now these are my relatives. I'm saying that because I thought I was finished, but I forgot I made these notes. My relatives across the street were my lighter skinned cousins, brothers, nephews, uncles, somebody came across the street. I wasn't like 20s, early 20s. He came across the street, and I was wondering, I didn't know that relative, but anyway, like I said, they asked me to move out of my house that I was buying, purchasing, had a mortgage on it. And he said, we got a house down the street, you need to move. Or maybe you want to move. And I asked him, because I didn't have any fear in me, did you see a for sale sign in my yard? But what if he realized that I was related to him? You think he would have come to me? Now, you coming from the church that should have been in the word, and you should have recognized we're brothers. Okay, then I buy me a house. You know, I didn't move because they said it. What they did was they hired, what you call these folk? People, FHA. And they hired somebody to come to my house and tell me that unless I poured my driveway from my back step to the street, which was several yards, a long way, maybe about 15 cars could park in my driveway, because that's how long it was. And they said, unless you pave that with concrete, you got to move because you're not under the standards of FHA. Now, I'm young. I didn't know. The guy said, then the guy got in my car. He said, I need to go to the bank because he coming in another name. He came in the name of FHA and then act like he had to really do this. And I didn't know all of this until I woke up out of the sleep, the dark. So I went to FHA office and I told this guy what was happening. I said, I don't have any money to pour a concrete driveway from my back door to the street. And he knew, his name was Gary Ledbetter, right there in Yalobusha County, Mississippi. And he knew what was going on. I didn't quite get it because I was not afraid of my kinfolk. I was not afraid of you. I didn't know that you had a other plan other than what was right. I didn't know that you was all up in my business because you told me it was FHA and asking me to show you my bank account. And I did. And I did all of that. But long story short, Gary Ledbetter said, let me move you out that house. Let me build you a house. So I got a brand new house built because he said you between a rock and a hard place. And that's the first time I ever heard that phrase. And he explained it to me. Long story short, I moved from that house, built a house on the hill, and, it was about 1,200 square feet house. And it was a nice house, but then I got a better job, and we moved into a bigger house. And this house has 16 acres of land. And all my neighbors were my European cousins and brothers and uncles and family. Still didn't bother me. I still bought another house. An older lady, I had what they call, I had locked land, and I had to come in through a street that would lead to my house of 16 acres. But this lady said that the path I was coming in, that was hers. But as long as I entertained her and stopped by to see, she's about 90 years old, I was in good standing with her. But I got 6 children. I'm getting off of work as a teacher, so I'm driving. And I go to my house, and every day she'll stop me and want to chit-chat. But my babies are hungry. I picked them up from the daycare. I need to get to my house. So one day she stopped. I rolled the window down. I said, I can't stop today. I need to get home. So evidently, I made my cousin upset. I'm saying cousin because the truth is, somewhere we related. One day I got ready to go to work. This lady had put up a big old cow fence. I could not get from my house to the main road because she put up a fence and I couldn't get out. I didn't understand that. And her plan was, whatever it was, she didn't treat me like we were related. But guess what that lady got to do? When she stand before God, he gonna ask her, why you do your sister like that? Guy came in after they found I couldn't get out of my own house. He tried to build me a road from the main road to there, but every time I drove, I was sinking the road because it didn't settle. And so all I'm doing is sinking in the mud. I told the bank, take this house. And that's what they call a deed in lieu. I turned that thing back to the bank. I said, I'm not living like this. But all of these things that God is saying, I'm not sure if what we've been breathing and what we've been going through lately got a lot to do with what we've done on this earth that God is saying, I'm tired of y'all acting like that. I want y'all to understand, even though that was many years ago, but that breath that breathed, that stuff is still alive. In 2019, just retired from teaching, I worked with a lot of people that were my relatives that didn't look like me. I'm telling you, you are my brother. And how you could treat me as your little sister like that, that's mind-boggling. And this is 2019. We just got a more subtle way of doing the same thing because the same spirit is inside of us. Number one, we have not realized that you are my brother. You did what Cain did when he killed Abel. You don't understand. You ain't got no business in killing your brother. Once we can just kind of get loose and shake and wake up and say, you know what? If I can see you as we are related, what do you think I would treat you? You might, but at least you know that you crazy and you kill your own relative. Now, when our Father calls us into counsel and tells us to stand before him in that day that he's going to tell everybody, all my children show up. And then he's going to tell us about the things that we've done on this earth. He said, did you realize that was my blood? You realize that what you did to her, you did to me? Because what I had, you are my children, and what you did is you're a reflection of me, and that's how you did each other. And you never would change because you wouldn't remind yourself to stay in the Word so that you can be, we just, like they said, if you don't teach history, it will repeat itself. And I'm telling you that he did, and it does. So if next time you hear somebody that sound different from you, be a little patient with them. If I got Hispanic people, we're working together, I got to be a little patient because I'm not used to my brother that talks like that. But I'm going to soften my response because I'm saying to you, you are my brother. Now, if my brother is wrong, just understand, you my brother, I'm going to tell you the truth. Because in the family, they said we keep it real. So all the things that we are doing to separate ourselves, God is saying, I need y'all to go back and read the history of who you are so y'all can get over the fact I'm going to judge you like you are family. Because that's what you are to me. All right. I got one more thing I want to say if I was your sister, mother, and I am your relative. And good morning, Jeanette, and I can't pronounce. Good morning. Hey, Kenneth and Robert, good morning. And the last thing that I wrote down that came across my mind is that, what you doing during these times right here? Are you doing anything? Because we are, if God allows us to live throughout and be a part of the people that comes out to tell this story, are we wasting time waiting for the barbershop and the petty things that we have? My nails look a mess. I had to cut them. But anyway, are we waiting for that? And that's all we got to tell our relatives, that we just couldn't hardly wait to get back out so we can go out and do the same thing that we did that did not work before? Or will we walk out of here knowing that when we get out of here, I got some new relatives, I'm going to speak to them like we can. Don't care what color we are. Bottom line, we are relative. And if your hair is straight, that's because you're further from the sun. If you're a little brown, that means you're not as close as I am. Or will you write something that would secure your future? Because if something like this happened again, it'd probably be worse. And are we prepared for that? So I just thought that I would share with to you some things that we ought to be doing to kind of be productive during this time. And it's not just to wait till we can get back out, because then we're just foolish. We're wasting time. It's something that we can do because history, one of these days, somebody going to interview us and say, did you live in that time? And then we can say, yeah. What did you do? And we don't want to say, oh. Let's have something to show. Write something down. Do something. Make a lasting impact on this world. And show the world that you changed. Because this is definitely a call to change. Now, if you stay the same, I hate to say it. How can I say it without, because I know somebody, you can't call nobody a fool. Well, anyway, I already said it. All right, I'm going to read God has given me something that was so rich this morning. My son said, Mama, you up early this morning. I said, I got up. I slept pretty good last night. But God has given me something concerning Genesis 22. If you listen to the beginning of this tape, you'll see why I fell into what I just said. But I want to get into Genesis 22. And I'm going to read it as an urgent, the way God gave it to me. I don't want to try to play with this word, but I'm going to use the word and at least 60 times in the word of God according to Genesis 22. I'm going to read it like this because it's going to be like you saw something happen. You got a child that said it. And they went down the street and they walked down the street and they did this and then they did and they kept using that conjunction word and then the writer of writers, who is God, he used and I counted it this morning about 60 times. And I might have missed some, but I think I'm correct. And I don't, it's not a big deal, but I just want to use it because I want to read it like I'm telling you something that happened. And then I'm going to break it down and tell you what God showed me that really kind of just, again, blew my mind. So I'm getting ready to read it. If you got your Bibles, I wouldn't trust anybody because most people would slice something out of here because they don't have time to read. Well, you still got, our daddy still said he going to get you if you don't know it. Yes, I am dramatic. All right, I'm going to Genesis 22. And if you have the word of God, it would be wise. And I'm going to read it. And I'm going to read it like I'm telling a story in a hurry. It's an urgent story. And it came to pass after these things. Okay, if it ever says, and I want to stop right there. And I didn't want to stop. But what happened was Sarah had this baby. His name is Isaac. That's already done. Abraham had 2 sons in the same household. The older son, being about 13 years old, being a teenager, a pre-teenager, is brother of the new son, the son that God told him to have. And now you got the 13-year-old child, and you got the baby Abraham, and he's being weaned from his mom. And then at the end of that chapter, it talks to Abraham and says, hey, your brother has some children. And he went and told him who his brother Nahor had. And in that group of children, we're going to find out God was doing something while he was preparing something. So it's like, there's no time of God wasted. It's nothing about God that's wasted. All right. So I want to say in this 21st chapter, it talks about the birth of Isaac and the promise of God to Sarah and Abraham. I'm reading this really fast, and then I'm going to break it down the way God gave it to me. Chapter 22, and I'm going to read the verses here. And listen to how I said, I am going to say the word and. Don't focus on the word and. It's just telling you that this is something that continuously happened without breaks. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. And he said, take now thy son, thy only son, Isaac, whom thou love, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him therefore a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac and his son and clave the wood for the burnt offerings and rose up and went into the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. So the 3 days gone by. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here with me, with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offerings and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Here am I, my son. And he said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to a place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar of the wood, upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay him. And the angel of the Lord called him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I, or here I am. And he said, Lay not your hands upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. But now I know that you fear God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh. As it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, said the Lord, for because you have done this thing, and has not withheld your son, thine only son, that in blessings I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars which is upon the sea shore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed all the nations of the earth, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto the young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Michal, she had borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Okay. Huz and firstborn Buz and brother, and Camul and father of Aaron, and Chesed and Hazo and Feldash and Jetlock and Bethuel. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Micah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Rumah, she bare also Tabah and Gaham and Thahash and Mahakah. I think I said some of the things initially that God had done that, but the last thing that was done, I'm sorry, let me go back and make sure. I brought the lineage of Abraham's brother, and that was in this chapter. But what happened at the end of this chapter is where Abraham met Abimelech and made a covenant with him. So go back and read the 21st chapter, because I want to focus on the 22nd chapter. I just read it, and the story goes on to say that God used Abraham. But I want to talk to you about how God explained this, and I got an understanding of something that brought me to an awe of God. I'm going to look at this from the subject it's not a subject, but the person I'm going to talk about the most here is Isaac. This is what God gave me this morning. I understand that we see Abraham, but what I got out of this was Isaac. This is how God unfolded this thing to me. And I wanted to read it, not to show you how fast I could read, because that's not important. That's why you need to have the word, just in case I tried to do the best I could. But I want to show you what God showed me about Isaac. Never heard this before in my life. And I listened to some very good teachers. I listened to my lighter-skinned brothers when I hear them teach, because I can't hardly find the darker-skinned brothers that would take the time to cut the bread like this. Not an indictment, it's just the truth. They're still my relatives. But I want to show you Isaac's and his daddy, focusing on Isaac. Isaac, daddy Abraham, threw a great big feast in chapter 21. Once he had become unattached from his mother's breast, and now he's on his own. He's old enough to have a party, and Abraham threw a big feast. At that feast was Ishmael, and Ishmael was a teenage boy. Isaac is young, innocent, but Ishmael, being a wild child, never was the promise of God. He was the son of Abraham, and God did promise him to bless him. But he said, Sarah is going to be the one that I'm going to put that seed in. So here's Ishmael at the feast. And Sarah notices that Ishmael is acting like a wild child, demonstrating who he is. And Sarah was so vexed with the fact that this boy, I ain't putting up with this. I'm tired of this. And I had it with his mama. And this boy is mocking my son. And I'm not going to put up with this. But at the same time, the little boy Isaac is watching his big brother. And I can just see Isaac saying, I'm taking note of what you're doing, but I don't understand why you're doing me like that, because I'm your brother. Why? I can't imagine what a teenager would be doing to a 3-year-old, if I may say that. That you, to the point that the little boy watching you, but the mama had to come in your behalf because you see something that you remember, but you don't understand why my brother treating me like that. Why is my brother mocking me? We're celebrating. Why is it that I can remember you, Ishmael? And I don't know about how you got here. I just know that my daddy said you my brother. But I know that when you come around, my mama don't feel quite like it's right when you come in. When you and your mama come in. I noticed all that being a child, and then my mama told my dad, as me being Isaac, I ain't dumb because I'm 3. I heard my mama tell my dad to make you leave. And then I also understood that my dad told my mama, I ain't getting ready to do that. That's my son. But then my mama convinced my dad in some kind of way. And with the God that I know my dad prayed to, I know him, I watched my daddy, so I knew that my daddy had heard from God. And then I know that you and your mama left. But I'm still just a little boy, still remembering what happened. See, I got to remember what happened, because my daddy I'm growing up, and I'm watching my daddy get up every morning, going in the same place, talking to the same God, and watching how he treats the people that works for him, how he treats my mama. And I done got a relationship with my dad until now. I trust my dad. I trust my dad. So one day my dad decided, in the book of chapter 22, my dad decided that he had heard from God again. So I'm walking with my dad. I'm an older man now. I'm a lad. And they tell me that a lad is not, sometimes we use that word and they say that we kind of a teenager. I'm not a teenager now. I know exactly how to talk to my dad. And then I love my daddy so much because my dad is an old man. My daddy had me when he was 100. Perhaps my daddy might be 125. All I know is my daddy had a plan. He told me come go with him. But the only reason why I just know my daddy, I walk with him, I hear him talk, I see how he treat people, I know that he pays his bills on time. And then I'm kind of protective of my dad. Because like I said, my daddy, he's kind of old now. So my daddy walking, and then my daddy told the guys that were walking with us, he said, hold the asses back here, and me and my son gonna go up yonder. Then my daddy did something that I didn't question. I knew that whatever he was doing, it was gonna turn out good. And then my daddy told me to put this wood on my back, carry this. And so I said, Dad, I know that you say, what the word said? And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, verse 7, and said, my father. And he said, here I am, son. And he said, behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both them together. Then they got to that place, and then, which God had told him, and Abraham built the altar, and perhaps Isaac was helping him. But the word said, but Abraham built there and laid the wood in order. And then he took Isaac and started bound him, tying him up. Isaac is old enough to say, Daddy, what you doing? But Isaac, according to the word, didn't say that. Why did Isaac not say anything in the way I see it? It's because he trusts his father. Whatever you're getting ready to do, I trust you. What Abraham was getting ready to do to Isaac, Abraham didn't even do to himself. That's why I said this thing, I looked at this thing, it's about Isaac to me. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to kill his son. Abraham was getting ready to do to his son, and his son was willing to let him do it. Twice Abraham had an opportunity to die himself, but he told his wife to lie for me so they won't kill me. The first time he was in Egypt, the second time he was with Abimelech, and because Sarah was such a beautiful woman, even in her old age. But Abraham didn't do what he got ready to do to his own child. Because God, see, Abraham could have, and this is not an indictment against Abraham, this is just what I'm seeing this morning. When God spoke to Abraham and told him, said, you're going to be a father of many nations, I'm going to put a seed in you. And that from that seed, all nations of the earth will be blessed. Abraham carried that seed. So when he came and approached Abimelech, and he went to Egypt, and that guy took his wife, and it was unnecessary to tell that lie because God had already spoken, you're going to carry the seed. But that's okay because God has said, I'm going to use you because you're the man that I'm choosing to get this job done. Number one, you the father that I want to be the dad of Isaac. When the Lord showed me that inside of Abraham was the seed of promise, and Isaac laid on that altar willing to say, Daddy, I trust you so much. If it takes taking my life because of how you represent life, do what you got to do. If me laying on this altar and you got to take what I have, what you gave me, and I'm your only son, that's what God called it. I'm the son that God promised. It ain't got nothing to do with, well, how come he's got another son? God said, I watch over my word to perform it. Whatever I spoke, what you did on the side, I can take care of it, but my focus is what I said. I'm not worried about Ishmael. When I say my only son, because I got to protect what I said. He's the son that I want to talk about. What you did on your own, I know how to protect that. But right now, I'm going to call it like I called it from the beginning, the one I called. The one I recognize. This boy. Had you put Ishmael on that thing, that boy would have went like a wild man. Because that's what you did. I know what I put inside of you. I know who I put inside of you. This boy eyes been on Abraham so much until Abraham got ready to kill him. He laid still enough for him to say, Daddy, do what you got to do. Because the word says Abraham was such an example of a father until Isaac was obedient, because God said Abraham will command his children. Abraham's children didn't walk in the house and do anything that he was not ordained by God. I command you to do this. And God said, that's why I'm going to use you. But the focus of right now is my son, your son. When I saw Isaac lay on that thing, when I saw Isaac willing to give his life, understanding I know my daddy. I know even if my daddy old and he don't know what he's doing, I'm still going to lay here. Whatever the reason why, whatever he chooses, I saw him. And I've lived such a good life until if I got to end it here, I'm good with that. But when God spoke to me and when I saw that thing, as God unfolded that thing to me, you know who I saw. I saw what it was like to be the one that that Hebrews talk about. Abraham offered up his son, and he said, and then I sent my promise revealed the promise to the people, and then they did the same thing that Abraham was getting ready to do, offered up my son. This Isaac, this thing on the inside, coming from somebody that, look at Isaac saying, I trust my father. Whatever my father says do, it's done. I never saw this before this morning. I was read it all day yesterday. And because it's such a familiar story to me. And when the Lord rebuked me for certain things and said, Brenda, this is how you do this. He said, let me tell you something. But let me just finish this right here. What God put on the inside of us is strategically planned, because it's a part of the next move that he's going to do through us. Only if we are in his word. You can go and stay the same, and you can break God's word, and you can feed it, and you can keep your titles, you can do all of that stuff, but God is going to raise up a people that will hear. God is going to raise up somebody that don't have. These are the people, and I promise you, and I lie to you not. He's going to raise people that he can call by their name, not by what they call themselves or somebody ordained you. I will not use you. The only somebody I am going to use according to the word of God are the students that sit in my class. The only somebody that can get this stuff around here, you got to pay attention to every and that I said. You got to know why I said and like that. I can't unfold what I want you to know because you don't stay in my class long enough for me. You grab a word and let me hook it up. Somebody need to write a song that all the words ain't got to rhyme. Sing God a new song. Sitting up there saying the same old thing, rhyming the same old word. He hurt. In the dirt. All of that has no power in it. Nothing in this thing that I just read rhymed. Nothing that I just said needed music. God is trying to say this little boy saw the enemy in his big brother and wondered, why is my big brother mocking me like that? But then when he remembered on his way as growing up, whatever it takes in response to what I saw my father do, I'll do whatever he tell me to do. And that's what Jesus said. I would do whatever. I saw my father be faithful. I know that when he made the world, he put the quality of the components that he needed. He put enough seed in the world for us to feed everybody on earth, in every tree. There's enough to feed everybody. There's enough water for everybody. And who wouldn't trust and do what a father say do if you got a daddy like mine? I'm so in love with this word. And then there was silence. I got to go, y'all. I got to get in the 23rd chapter. This stuff good. Y'all get in the word. Bye.